What do you think of a podcast for South Asian women? Welcome to another episode of Raj Suri Talent Talks. We are in Sydney in the lockdown 2021. Well, today I want to introduce you to a young South Asian woman who won the Miss India Australia Social Impact Subtitle in 2020. She's a qualified lawyer and now ready to launch her own podcast. I met Amanda in 2020 online when Amanda auditions for the Miss India Australia, where Amanda pitched for a podcast concept for social impact project as part of Miss India Australia. We met with all the Sydney finalists in February this year in person for the first time. We all discussed so many topics related to South Asian women at that meeting, besides having great interactions and beginning of beautiful friendships amongst the finalists.
The day has been incredible to meet all the like-minded young Indian Australian women. It was good to meet everyone on Zoom, but I think there's something different about meeting people face to face, and it's so lovely that it happened today, although we did miss the girls that are in Melbourne. I think that it was a great day to bounce off ideas. What are we each doing in terms of our social impact? I think that's something that's really on the agenda for 2021, and it was just really nice to hear what everyone's up to. So for 2021, I hope there's a lot happening in terms of my social impact project. Hopefully that will take off soon this year. There's a lot going on behind the scenes in terms of that. As someone who's been all my life really fond of education, I think this is a year that I get to do something big about it and sharing knowledge. I know I'm someone who's been really privileged to study, have my tertiary education, and I just want to be able to share that privilege. So just, I guess, the enthusiasm that I've seen in the girls today. I think everyone is doing something of their own in terms of social impact, work, making an impact, role modeling, and just to see everyone else doing that, it's a real great, zap of energy for me. I really want to carry that through for the rest of the year.
Amanda kept chipping at the social impact, and here we are today, where Amanda is now ready to launch her own social impact project. So let's hear it from Amanda herself. Amanda, welcome.
Thank you so much, Raj, for that lovely introduction. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. I think we've come full circle, lockdown to lockdown. And it's good to be back on Zoom after having that little break of being able to see everyone in person. But again, thank you so much for the lovely introduction.
The journey of this podcast, where did it start? And take us through that.
Yes, so with the big name reveal, so I've named the podcast Pentalks. So I myself, I am South Asian, and I trace my roots back to the south of India. My parents and their mother tongue is Tamil. So just a little ode to that. So pen in Tamil translates to female. So I think it really goes back to what I'm trying to achieve with this podcast. I want it to be a platform for South Asian women to kind of come together, talk about what their achievements have been, and not just what the wins have been, but what have been the hurdles, what's been all the difficulties, the obstacles. Talk about what it's taken to get to where you are today. And I guess the real hope in that is that whoever's listening, another girl from our South Asian community, maybe she'll hear that and she'll want to do something good in her own life. Maybe she'll want to, take some inspiration from that, or maybe there's already an opportunity that she does have in front of her, but she's kind of not too sure about whether to go and do it. Maybe by hearing another South Asian woman speak about what she's done, maybe she'll just get that push to go ahead and do it. So that's the podcast in a nutshell.
I love the name, by the way, Pentalks. So it's got a mix of, so talks and pen is a Tamil name. In all of my years, I've seen that there are stories from every household, and we are, you're all South Asian girls, and those stories are relevant to your culture. And a lot of girls which I interact with my talent is that they want to do stuff, and it never comes out. So, how did you go through all of those sort of challenges?
I guess it really was a big process. I think one way to start was, yes, last year I put together that social impact pitch. But I think to really get to the root of how it all began, I think just growing up as a very small child, I've always been around really strong South Asian women. I think it's the biggest blessing of my entire life. Just each woman that I've like interacted with, whether it be my mom, my sister, going beyond that, aunties, grandparents, like my grandmother, great grandmother, everyone's story has had such a deep mark on my own life and the choices I've made. Just seeing the amount of resilience they've had in the face of adversity, I think has been what's motivated me to do the things I've done today, whether it be, studying law at university or just even taking up this podcast today. I think it's all with that. I feel like I'm being propelled forward by their stories. I think I must say that. So if I take it back to last year when I put forward that social impact pitch, I've always had the belief that education and knowledge is really the pathway forward. It really is what brings about equality, and it's really a very powerful tool. And I was thinking of ways that I could make use of what I know to help someone that's beyond just me. So that's how my social impact project came about. It was about using what existing skills and knowledge that people in our community have, and within the South Asian female community, whatever skills or knowledge or talent you have, use that to benefit someone else. So just by sharing what you have, you kind of create this perpetual cycle of just people learning and growing and then sharing what they've learned to someone else. And it's like a domino effect of just empowering women. So that was, I guess, at the root of everything that I put into my social impact pitch. And then moving forward, I was like, okay, how do I bring this into life? I have limited resources. I am just fresh out of university and COVID. It's very difficult to do anything these days. So I was thinking about how can I bring it to life, and then I thought podcast. And even in that, it was such a, I really had to find the strength in me to kind of push through that, because I know that growing up, I was a really, really shy child, shy adult, and now I'm trying to do my best to put this podcast out. I know that I'm a much stronger writer than I am speaker, but I think this is going to be a really good testing grounds to kind of just me personally to go through that, but also do it in such a way that I'm also doing something for my community.
So, who was your the bouncing board for this? I remember you mentioned your sister, and
Yeah.
so how because obviously these are things when you mention, and anyone listening here, here we've got Amanda, who's a shy girl in the past, but you can do things, and Amanda is launching this very soon, but that is something where the journey, the transformation. So were there times you say, look, this is too difficult?
I think there have definitely been times where I've thought, do I have the capacity to take this on? I think being a new university graduate, kind of moving into the working world, it's a lot of things that you have to balance. So I wasn't quite sure if it was the right time or place, but I thought at the end of the day, I think this is what makes me happy. I think this, I don't want to sound cliche, but in some ways I feel like it's my calling. So I really wanted to make sure that I put time into it. Yes, having a 9 to 5 is important and giving my energy to that, but I think that these things are equally as important to give your time to, because one, it makes you feel like you're doing something important, and I think in a sense it energizes me, and at the same time you're kind of doing something that's going to be of use to someone that's not just yourself, and I think that's a good thing. But yeah, if I was going to be completely transparent, yes, there have been times when it's been like, oh, have I got it in me to do it? And I guess we'll find out. I still don't know if I'm gonna. I mean, I am going in fully confident that I can pull this off, but only time will tell.
Yeah, but what you've shared with me, I think it is a fantastic uh, project, with the South Asian women. You are South Asian, and I was going to ask you whether it is open only for South Asian women or it can expand from there.
Yeah, I think this is one that I was thinking about a lot, even at the social impact pitch stage, because I don't by any means want it to be something that's closed off or people can't feel included. I think the reason I started with South Asian women is because I think that there are a lot of different ways our culture plays into the way that we conduct ourselves and what kind of issues affect us specifically as South Asian women. So I think that's why I started there, and that's why when I pitched it, that was, I guess, the platform upon which I wanted to start. As for the future, I'd love for it to grow. That would actually be the most beautiful end goal, to have like a massive community where it's not just South Asian women, but even as for the time being, I don't want it to be by any means you have to be South Asian to listen. It's anybody, whether you're female, male, not South Asian, all South Asian. It should be something that everyone can listen into and hopefully take something away from.
Yeah, and it's a good point to start because really you are South Asian, starts with South Asian stories, and we'll see how it goes. And I think that's a great starting point. And I remember when in February when you were we met six of us, and there was this so many things came out of that, and there was this those stories where marriage for South Asian women. There was like dressing up in a sari. Remember that? And there was this.
Yeah.
Everyone had a story to tell, and I think by giving a platform through Pentalks, those stories which are unique to South Asian women uh, have a place to sort of start talking about it. And the next question is, what are the topics you've got in mind, or is it open?
Good question. So, with respect to topics, how I've structured Pen Talks is it's going to be based on the experience my guest is bringing in. So, whether she be a professional, whatever her profession may be, whether she be in business, whether she be a creative, or whether she be doing her own social impact project herself, I would love for her to come forth and share what her experience has been in going about that. So the topics, I guess, it's kind of malleable, but it really is. I think of myself in this as being more the messenger. So it's going to be about my guest. So whatever she has to share with our South Asian female community, I would love to hear it and put the word out.
Okay, so it's open. Any topic,
That's
you're open for that, and I think that's fantastic. So, so tell us now, what can people expect on episode 1 on your podcast, or whether you're going to call it episode 1?
right. Okay, this is the exciting part. So, what you can expect from the first episode is actually just me. It's going to be an introduction to know who's the host and why is she talking all the time? Why is she doing what she's doing? So that's episode 1. And I'll leave episode 2 and our first guest a bit of a mystery. Let that be a surprise for when it comes out.
By all means. And is it going to be a weekly podcast, a monthly podcast, or what's the duration or the frequency?
Yeah, that's a good question. So at this stage, I've aimed to keep it as a 3-week gap between each podcast. So somewhere between fortnight and 1 month, picked in between.
And I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. Any time frame, like the length of it? Is it going to be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or?
Yeah, as to time frame, I'm looking to have a 30 to 40-minute duration. I find that to be quite the sweet spot, just based off podcasts I listen to. I've actually happily listened to podcasts in the 1 hour mark and more, but I think that I reckon 30 to 40 minutes is a good amount. I don't think people want to hear my voice after that, so it sounds like a good amount.
Well, that is fantastic. And, just give us the coordinates. So it's got an Instagram account. I saw that. And then there is what, a website, or is it on Twitter, or is it just on Instagram?
At this stage, it's just on Instagram. It's at Pentalks. So that's spelled Penn Talks. So yes, if you do want to check it out. So what I'll be putting out there is our mission statement, as well as some bits of info about me as the host, and then from there onwards, it's going to have all the details of our guests and what to expect in the next coming weeks.
So anyone listening there, Pentalks, Penntalks, at Pentalks at Instagram, and they are the ones, everyone should go there and follow Amanda's new social impact venture. I'm excited. I'll be listening to that as well. And for anyone listening, that I've known Amanda for the last, nearly now 8-9 months, through the Miss India Australia 2020 journey. And then we did a photo shoot as well, which we are going to be putting it out there as well, which was this was again an outcome of having a meeting, and then the girls, the finalists, actually driving it. And this is something which I get excited about, that the brown girl stories, which I'm really passionate about, and the brown girl projects are coming out. And Amanda is an example of that. For anyone out there who think that this is not possible, it is possible. Amanda has done it. Go and see it and tell us and put your comments out there. What do you think? And I wish you all the best, Amanda, for Pentalks.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about it a bit and get it out there.